All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So, in this video, I'm going to be doing a daily forecast for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, June 9th, I believe. Yes, Tuesday, June 9th, 2026. So a little recap on the markets today. Overall, just consolidations all across the board on everything, consolidations, just like I said in the weekly forecast yesterday. Okay, so let's take a look at the economic calendar. And as you can see, tomorrow, Tuesday, again, we don't have anything. So tomorrow we could still have some low volatility, just like we had today, big consolidations. It's possible, but the market seems to be setting up differently. Um, like I was looking, well, we're gonna take a look at the markets together, of course, but I think there could be some opportunities tomorrow, even though there is no news coming out. Okay? So I think there's two possibilities here. Either tomorrow has decent volatility, not necessarily high volatility, and some nice moves, or it's just again a consolidation. We'll have to adjust and see. All right, so let's start by the dollar. So as you can see here in the dollar, this is setting up nicely for a potential opportunity right here because we should be creating this daily fair value gap in 2 hours. And so once we create that daily fair value gap, then it's easy. Like I see a clear path to trade back into it to then continue higher. So right here, there's a setup, technically speaking. So let's put ourselves an alert on that fair value gap, that daily fair value gap, and we can definitely continue higher from it. Okay? As you can see, overall today was just a massive consolidation. All right, so that means that a few majors will be interesting, like AU, for example. AU does also look extremely good, I'm not gonna lie. Right here, we have a bearish daily fair value gap, which is overlapping with a bunch of fair value areas. There's one here, there's another one here, and then there's another one here. Okay, so I think AU is definitely interesting to target this low right here. So let's put ourselves in alert, and this is going on the interest list. Moving on to GU. GU is the exact same thing. The only problem here on GU is that I'm concerned about the RR. Is it worth it in terms of RR? Because we are already so close to reaching that first target. So that's my only concern, but overall, that also does look good. EU, very similar. We have this daily fair value gap that is overlapping with fair value area. And so again, EU is probably one of the most interesting. So yeah, on the majors, we do have a lot of we do have a lot of majors that look good. Doesn't mean they're going to offer us a trade opportunity, but I think it's worth monitoring them. And then New Zealand dollar, US dollar, we did create that daily fair value. Yep, my only problem is that we've reached the target already. And now the next target is would literally be all the way down here, and that's quite far. And then on the 4 hour, we don't even have a closer target. So I would rather focus on AU or EU, but NU is just not great. USD Canadian, this one I don't like it. We're already so close to the target. We don't have a daily fair value gap, so I don't like this. USD CHF, yeah, that could be good. That could be good here. So again, daily fair value gap. That's the main story today. They're all daily fair value gaps. Um, that's also overlapping with fair value area, and we have this target all the way up here. We could potentially have some closer targets in the form of this 4-hour swing high. So yeah, I think overall USD could be interesting. Let's put ourselves in alert here. Oh, that's funny. I've put too many alerts. Okay, well that's fine. I'll just wait for the dollar alert and then I'll look at these other ones. But USD is interesting for sure. And then USD is just like USD Canadian. It's not great. It doesn't look great. It doesn't have a daily fair value gap. So yeah. So for the majors, I would say AU and EU would be my favorites, and then USD and GU could be like second after AU and EU. Okay, so that's really interesting for the majors. Now, the metals, gold. So gold, perfect. Exactly what I said, exactly what I predicted. Just a massive consolidation today where we were able to create this daily fair value gap. And in the process of creating that daily fair value gap, we also reached this low. So now this low has been reached, and now the next target is all the way down here. So price could be moving really fast, really far. Okay, we'll see. And so that daily fair value gap is also overlapping with the fair value area. So that creates really high probability. Like, well, it creates, yeah, it creates a really high probability setup, basically. So yeah, I definitely think that tomorrow, if it's not tomorrow, then it's gonna be Wednesday, but eventually we will just get a sting back inside the daily fair value gap and we will move lower. That's for sure. So bearish here on gold. Same thing for silver. Um, Silver looks really good as well. I'm not gonna lie, maybe even better than gold in this case. Overlapping with that fair value area. So that's a good sign. We've reached that low right here. So now again, just like on gold, the next target is all the way down here. So yeah, very silver looks really good also to continue lower. Then okay, let's move on to crude oil. And this one here is honestly I don't really know what to think about crude oil because something that was really not anticipated is that we opened the day all the way up here instead of down here. So that's a huge gap to the upside technically. And so we went up for a little bit at the during the night and then we came all the way back down. So now if I had to, well, if I'm being objective and looking at what we have here in price action, I'm gonna say that we're bearish for tomorrow on crude oil. So we have a 4-hour fair value gap that could push price lower. So from this 4-hour fair value gap, we can open, sting back into it, and then continue lower. But even though we opened the week with a gap to the upside, I still don't see price continuing higher. To me, right now, if I'm being objective, it does look very bearish. And so we have this first target to reach, and then eventually, once we reach this low, well, then after that, it's that monthly fair value gap, and from there, we will explode higher. So yeah, I think I'm keeping my bias here on crude oil, um, which is short for the rest of the week. Okay, so that's crude oil short, and then Bitcoin. Um, Honestly, nothing meaningful happened today. Just a consolidation to create this daily fair value gap. So right now it's about seeing, can we sting back into that daily fair value gap, which is going to push price higher to this bearish fair value gap, and then we can continue lower. It's possible. It's possible, but there's other scenarios where we start by reaching that bearish fair value gap, then we reach the daily fair value gap, and then we continue higher. But right now it's just hard to tell because we are stuck between two PD arrays, which is the bearish daily fair value gap and the bullish daily fair value gap. So it's just about seeing which one of them fails first, and then we'll have a good idea of the direction. But overall, there's nothing significant here. We just consolidated throughout the day, and it could be the same thing tomorrow. Okay? And then finally, the indices. So the indices, a lot of people on Wall Street were very happy today. They thought, the correction was over. But from what I'm seeing right here, we're gonna keep going lower. Some people, Bloomberg were saying like, oh, the correction is over. It was just Friday, and now we're gonna start, you know, um, climbing back up to new all-time highs. And I just don't see that happening because we created those daily fair value gaps right here on 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 the S&P and also on Nasdaq. Okay, so that to me is a very strong bearish sign, and I think it could be the start of a big bearish move, at least until we reach the previous all-time highs that are these fair value areas right here. Okay, you have one on Nasdaq, and then you have one on the S&P. So yeah, overall, and what is that? That's okay. That's not relevant. Okay, so overall, I am bearish still for tomorrow, on the indices. Okay, we could start the day by going higher, so we can have that retracement inside the fair value gap. But then after that, it's definitely bearish. I don't see new all-time highs this week. Okay, that's really important. All right. Well, oh yes, and sorry. One last thing I wanted to show is the Fibonacci. Look at this. The daily fair value gap just happens to be the exact golden area. So the area between the zero point 0.5 and the golden level happens to be the fair value gap. So that to me, this area right here will 100% reverse price to the downside. This is very strong. I'm strongly convinced about that. Same thing for Nasdaq. If we look at the Fibonacci here, give me a second. So from this high to this low, it's a little bit less accurate than the S&P, but overall, well, we could use this swing high as well. Just, the golden area kind of correlates with the daily fair value gap. So I think that's beautiful, and I think we can definitely continue lower tomorrow. And so, yeah, be careful this week. As I said, markets are going to crash this week, so get ready for that. And then finally, let's take a look at crosses because we had a few on the interest list. Okay, so Australian dollar JPY, I do like this. I do like this. So now I can't put alerts anymore. That is so stupid. Can't put alerts. Since when did they add this feature on TradingView? I thought I had like I thought I had infinite alerts. That sucks though. All right, well, it's fine. I'll just keep an eye on it. But um yeah, I do like Australian dollar JPY because we created the daily fair value gap, and now we have a clear path to trade back into it and then lower. So that definitely is interesting for tomorrow. There could be a setup here. Keep an eye on it. Same thing for New Zealand dollar JPY. This is also interesting. So these two could have a setup tomorrow. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Mm, That's that's a little bit 50-50 right now, but I would say that it could be interesting if we get a retracement inside this daily fair value gap because I think the target is this weekly fair value gap, so we can retrace back inside the daily fair value gap and then trade to the weekly fair value gap. So yeah, that also has potential to have a setup tomorrow. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. No, this one, no, no. This one I don't like. It's gonna be removed. I don't want to waste brain points on this, but just doesn't look good. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Oof. Okay. So this fair value gap, we can safely say that it has failed now. There is still this second fair value gap that we can sting back into to continue higher. So yeah, I think that's still interesting. We'll just have to see how price reacts from this second fair value gap. And then finally, Euro New Zealand dollar. We failed to create a new daily fair value gap. We didn't sting into the previous fair value gap, so that's not great. That's not interesting for tomorrow. I'll keep it on the interest list though, but it's not interesting immediately. Okay. So for tomorrow in the crosses, I would say definitely these two. And then yeah, potentially Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the crosses. Okay. So, little recap. Tomorrow I see higher prices on the dollar, which means short on AU and EU, for example, that look very good to continue lower. Then on the metals, short, 100% short. Then crude oil, I am gonna say short as well. I could be wrong, but right now that's how it looks like. Then Bitcoin, it's really 50-50 right now. So it's just waiting for price to clear up. And then finally on the indices, I see lower prices tomorrow as well. Okay. So yeah, overall, I think there's potential tomorrow. It's just about monitoring the volatility because potential without volatility doesn't mean anything, right? So you want both of these things together to get good setups. And so since we don't have news tomorrow, it could be a little bit difficult. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think that overall, the market does look good for tomorrow and then for Wednesday eventually. All right, lads. Well, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in tomorrow's forecast.